And now, another episode of MMA Gossip with your boys.
Boom. We are live, baby. MMA Gossip episode number 70. Cheers to 70 episodes. I got my espresso. I saw Mike's got his coffee or something. Matt's got a water. Isn't it bad luck to cheers with water? I don't know. But anyways, we're back. Episode number 70, MMA Gossip. We always say the MMA world never, ever sleeps. Bellator went down. PFL went down. UFC 263. It seems to be a huge pay-per-view, so maybe I'm wrong. Pay-per-view numbers haven't come out yet. We shall see. Nate Diaz did, I almost want to say did his thing. It seems like his star power rises with a dominant loss. Brandon Moreno, Mike's fucking favorite fighter, goes off in the co-main event. Izzy does what Izzy does. His takedown defense looks reinvigorated. Maybe the size of Jan really did play a factor in that fight. We'll get into all that. We got PFL's back this week. Bellator, we got to wait a while for, unfortunately. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Chrissy Bellator is sad. The UFC's back. Everything, dude, it just never stops. We had a TikTok versus YouTube boxing card this week, for Christ's sake. Dana White's going off on Triller. Apparently, Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul did over a million pay-per-view buys, and Dana's backing it, which is fucking crazy. So good for those guys. We'll get into that and much more. Please do us a solid if you're still listening at this point. Like, comment, and subscribe. Help the boys out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever the fuck you're listening to this. Help the boys out. Drop a thumbs up at MMA X Gossip across the board. Mike, break it down, baby.
Clarissa Shields is the greatest fighter of all time. Comes back from 2 rounds of absolute domination against a 3-6 fighter, and then TKOs her in the 3rd round. I saw a lot of people saying this fight was fixed, and you're all morons if you think that's the case. Guys, any thoughts on that PFL main event?
Go ahead, Matt. You're muted.
The whole time, the only thing I was thinking is, thank fucking God I don't have money on this. Because I didn't think that was going to turn around, because people that were betting against Shields were betting on her for that exact reason. Like, that outcome was what a bunch of people are expecting, right? Like, not expecting because, like, she was an underdog, but people that pay attention to the sport know that when you make that transition, it could get a little fucking wanky at times. And, yeah, I would have been sweating that one out for sure, but it was dope to see. And, clearly she has improvements she's got to make if she's going to continue down this path, which I'm assuming she's going to. Just get working that takedown defense, baby. Can't lay on the back. You can't lay on your back for that long and just hope to throw up a prayer at the end of every fight.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It was good and bad. Like, I don't know. She was, dude, her striking is like lightning fast. I mean, as expected, as, advertised in boxing, but it was level. She used levels better on the feet. So any kickboxer, boxer that fights her is going to be in a world of trouble, but anyone with good grappling is seemingly going to do pretty well. Props to her for, I've been on bottom. I've been mounted, no homo. I don't know if that's a thing still in 2021, but I've been mounted and it sucks. You're out of breath. You panic. At times, Clarissa was literally throwing punches from the bottom, which was a little outlandish, holding on at times, but she stayed composed and, took advantage of her moments in the fight. And it looked like a couple times, she landed a pretty significant shot on the feet, before ultimately getting taken down. But props to her. She went in there 3 rounds, almost 15 minutes, 15 full minutes of fight time. She was pumped after the fight. That was good to see. It's just, I don't know if this is me nitpicking and being like a MMA hipster, but it almost like you could tell how green she is to the sport. She still calls like different martial arts, mixed martial arts. She's like, oh, I've been working on all my mixed martial arts, like Muay Thai. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? It's just like, all right. But hey, she's doing the thing and I'm not. So props to her. And PFL is going to set her up with another fucking meatball on her next fight.
I know exactly what's going to happen too. Kayla Harrison's going to beat the shit out of Cindy Dandois. I guess that's this Thursday, I'm pretty sure. If not next Thursday. I think it is next Thursday, excuse me. And then Cindy Dandois is going to be set up with Clarissa Shields. I don't know if they're trying to converge the two in the finals for the $1 million prize. I don't want to see Kayla Harrison beat the shit out of Clarissa Shields, but I feel like that's the path that PFL is going. So We shall see. PFL is a shit show of a mixed martial arts promotion, but I fucking love it. You guys want to move on to Bellator? Lima can't get up from bottom, guys. It's alarming. It's alarming. Like we saw it with the first Roy McDonald fight, and then we saw it again with Gegard. But we chalked it up to two high-level opponents. And I'm not saying Amasov is not, man. He's 25-0 for a reason. But this one was the first one where all like, damn, like this is a huge kryptonite for Lima here. What's next for Lima? Can he get back to the throne? He's 33, I believe, years old, close to 34. But this is a huge hole in his game that I feel like people have overlooked for his entire career. What do you guys think about that performance? Because it was domination after round by Amasov.
That's why I was so thrown off by the odds. Because, Mike, I think me and you were looking at both that fight through the same set of eyes. Now, you were on him as well, right? You didn't bet on Lima.
No, I bet on Amasov.
Yeah, right. And I you asked the question, can he get back to the top? I don't know who's being Amasov right now. I think it's more that he's really that good as opposed to the latter, Like you said, it's been a hole in his game for a while. And if he's to ever improve it, then maybe. But against a guy that is just that much better at what he does, it's just like, I forget who was talking about this to me recently. It was such a good point. But like you could train something for like so long to prepare, like almost like when like Connor went to fight Floyd. Like you train your ass off, right? You could do. At the end of the day, that's built into his DNA, right? And Amasov is always going to be better at that aspect of MMA than Lima. He's going to be better on the ground. He's not going to let you up. He's going to get you to the ground. And it's like Khabib. It's just one of those things. If you can't prevent it, you're in for a fucking long night all the time. Lima's always going to be there. He's always going to be competitive within the division. But I think it runs through Amasov right now. And I don't need to see a rematch, obviously.
Yeah, no rematch necessary. I just thought Lima's takedown defense was going to be a lot better. His get-up game clearly isn't that good. And I kind of chalked up, Rory McDonald is Rory McDonald, right? And he's like minus whatever Matt just said, 1,200 before the podcast. And then Gegard is just bigger, light heavyweight, middleweight, fighting a welterweight. And I just chalked it up to that. I did not think that Lima was going to be able to be controlled that easily. And I was clearly wrong. Maybe now it's time to set up the freaking MVP rematch, right? Keep Gegard or keep Douglas Lima hot, rather, as hot as he can be coming off his title loss, and give MVP that rematch he's been begging for. Now, I don't know if MVP is not interested anymore, coming off that win over Derek Anderson where he literally smashed his fucking nose in. If he still wants that rematch, I think this is the perfect time, right? Because Lima can use MVP's star power, I guess you'd call it, to bounce back maybe into another title shot, or keep his name super, super relevant in the division. But yeah, Amasov just rolls. Division runs through him now.
Let's give Jason Jackson a shot at the title. He deserves it. And let's give the MVP rematch to Lima. I think that's the matchmaking.
I like that, dude. Also, Aaron Pico doing exactly what Aaron Pico was supposed to do. Massive favorite. Went out there, got the job done, using finally all aspects of mixed martial arts. As Clarissa Shields would say, using his mixed martial arts, all of his mixed martial arts, to get a nice submission win. So props to him. Scott Coker was pumped about it. I know that. Yeah, so definitely. I want to see Aaron Pico now. I want to see his career literally went from no one and lost, way too high, way too fast, way too low, dominant victories. And now it's kind of like here. So I want to see maybe now we can give him a step up in competition now that he seems to be putting everything together. Give him some, I don't know, but develop him. I'm trying to think of a good opponent off the top of my head, but just develop him now, actually develop him like a prospect, Also, before we move on the topic of Bellator, we finally have a fucking date for McKee and Pitbull, which I'm fucking stoked about. I want to get the date right, but dude, that is going to be the best Bellator fight. I've never been more excited for a fight. I can't think of I guess Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, the rematch, but that's just because of Conor McGregor's star power for me. But I literally cannot think of a time I've been this excited for a fucking fight. It's the finals of the featherweight Grand Prix. I'm like it is the July 31st. So I'll be down the shore. I'm sure Matt's gonna be down the shore. Mike, you're at the shore now technically because he bought a house. Again, congratulations to Mike. But you're more than welcome to come because I'm going to be fucking pumped for that.
Where you putting what's your thought process there?
Dude,
Odds?
Is there odds on it?
No, I'm asking you. Do you know them?
No, I don't know odds, but dude, I'm fucking pumped. AJ McKee I think he's like 17-0 in Bellator at this point, and he'll still probably be the underdog unless money sways it. But because Patricio, dude, he's only lost by decision essentially. Like he lost to Bendo, but it was an injury, so that's the only time he's ever been stopped. Otherwise, it's been decision losses. But McKee literally looks like the Terminator. I'm pumped. I can't wait to see what the odds are. I'm really, 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 really curious because I still don't think people realize how high, or understand rather, because I don't, how high McKee's ceiling is, because he just keeps fucking breaking through the roof. Every time someone's like, oh, Darian Caldwell might be able to wrestle him, submits his ass instantly with the slickest submission like ever. He's so good. I'm fucking pumped for this shit, dude. Pumped. Like I remember like 2 years ago when James Gallagher was like calling him out, all the Conor McGregor fans want that matchup because it's a shit talker, was a really good fighter, and I think that would have been devastating for James Gallagher's career, especially at that time, and definitely now. So AJ McKee is someone, and he's left his options open as far as the UFC goes. He said in the future he feels like it's inevitable that he'll go there. He's on pace to be the best Bellator fighter ever, and I think Patricio Pitbull holds that title right now. So this is literally Clash of the Titans at featherweight, Grand Prix finals. Oh, dude, I'm fucking pumped for that fight. Holy shit.
Did you find the date?
July 31st.
Okay, I missed that. Okay, great. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Perfect timing. It's just over a month away, a month and a half. They've both, like, I've seen McKee's Instagram. He's been training, knowing he's fighting Pitbull. So they've both been at least training for each other, with each other as an opponent in mind. So now they have a date set, and it's going to be fucking sweet. Like, that is a insanely high level matchup. I can't overstate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of wish the UFC did something similar to what Bellator does. Like, I feel like Bellator has too much. UFC has too much pride to like copy any other organization. But it's such a great, exciting thing to have a bracket of a tournament to lead up to the, especially because, like you said, that the date hasn't been announced, and they're both of their last fights were over a month and a half ago. So they know that they're eventually going to collide, and they've been training. It's just a cool. It's just Bellator, made something that no other organization did. So props to them, and it's gonna blast. It's gonna probably be pay-per-view, right?
I don't know if it's going to be. To be honest with you, it depends on the fight card. I'm paying for it if it is. Yeah, but I guess if they're streaming it with Showtime, maybe not. But if it is, I'm paying for it. So I don't care. But on that note, Mike, what you said, Saki Guevara met with ex-president of Pride, Ryzen, met with Dana White and Mayweather, and they posted that picture together. And Dana kind of said he's not totally closing the door on the idea of doing like at least somewhat of a crossover. I don't know if that really is a Grand Prix necessarily, but it could be like, a Japanese or Asian champ coming over and fighting someone in the UFC. And
that'd be sick. That'd be really sick.
So,
exciting times.
Exciting.
So, like, I this is off topic, but like, me and Chris were talking about this before the podcast about all the YouTube fighters fighting each other, and Woodley's gonna fight Jake Paul soon. Like, what's your guys' opinion? Does it not bother you? Does it bother you? Do you like endorse it? Because like, for whatever reason, I have no reason why, but it bothers me that it's getting so much limelight, and then you have like this amazing fights that no one knows about, doesn't get the limelight, and then by default, all the money's going to the YouTubers. And what do you guys think about that? Does it bother you? Does it not bother you?
Go ahead. All right. So, dude, I could go off on this all day, literally, but I'll spare you and the viewers the time because they don't give a shit about me. I'm both, right? So, like, they just had this TikTok versus YouTube card, and it probably did pretty well. So props to them. I'm not mad at these kids for going out and making money, but then like the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather thing, like people that are like my immediate friends, and I'm sorry to all you guys, the Wild West boys, all my friends are like, they think that it's just it's frustrating because you have these fights like Floyd Mayweather, who's 44 years old, didn't train, didn't try, goes to a decision with Logan Paul, and now everyone thinks Logan Paul is like the Terminator. You know what I mean? Or Jake Paul.
Where there was no decision.
where there's no decision, no judges. Like they don't know anything about it going in. They don't watch it. And all they read on Twitter, it says Logan Paul goes to decision versus Floyd Mayweather. And it's just like, oh my fucking God. This is because like it as an MMA fan and me being such a hardcore MMA fan, I'm sure that you guys both know the feeling. All like MMA is still such a niche sport that all of my friends, and I know you guys too, whenever there's a big fight or a Conor McGregor or like you have an MMA question, you are their resource, right? So now with all these Jake Paul's fighting and knocks out Ben Askren, it diminishes the UFC or MMA in general. But people think like, oh my God, Jake Paul knocked out a UFC, it's just because Ben Askren has a big name in MMA and that fight was set up for Jake Paul to win, and people just don't understand that. Tyron Woodley now, Dana White just said at the post-fight press conference, Tyron Woodley is 40 years old and hasn't won a fight in MMA in 4 years. And to literally quote Dana, he goes, he hasn't won in 4 years in a sport that he's supposed to be good at. Why is he going to go now into boxing and win? You know what I mean? Against Jake Paul, who's essentially in his prime, is actually good at boxing. But to play devil's advocate to myself, at least people are watching fighting, getting interested in fighting. Again, to quote Dana White, he says it's it's the best sport in the world. If there's a baseball game on this corner, football game on this corner, hockey game on this corner, and a soccer game over here, and then there's a fight breaks out, everyone stops what they're doing and watches the fight. Like Nate Diaz says, we're entertaining the motherfucking entertainers. So fighting is the best sport in the world. The more eyes on it, the better. It's only helping. No such thing as bad publicity. It just hurts me when these kids, and especially like these YouTubers, TikTokers thing. I watch the highlights because, again, I'm an asshole and I watch all fighting. They cannot fight. Like, that's not a fight. That's literally.
Bro, that Austin McBroom fight this weekend with that, whoever the fuck, that Bryce Hall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if it offends anybody, but Bryce Hall looked fucking retarded trying to throw a punch. And he just made at least put in the fucking time and effort. Like, if you're going to, to me, it's like a level of respect almost. Like, it's tarnishing the fucking sport. I get it, man. You want to make your nut. But where does the buck stop? And I'll tell you where it stops. Tyron Woodley needs to put his foot down and show up and knock Jake Paul so unconscious that nobody ever wants to travel down those roads again.
Yeah.
And the first thing Bryce Hall said was, he made an Instagram post. He was like, I'm going to go back to YouTube and TikTok stuff. Yeah, probably because you didn't like getting your fucking face punched in, dude. It's not a game. It's not a game. And I think that Jake still thinks it's a fucking game because he's never gotten hit. Who did he fight? He fought another YouTuber, Nate Robinson, whose head is where my dick is, and I'm short, and fucking Ben Askren. He hasn't even gotten touched. Tyron Woodley, for what he is, at least he could still rip a right hand, still fucking crack you. So God, just pray to God that happens, and it would really put a slowdown to all this shit, I think.
And sorry, not to just keep harping on this, but the thing is, but people don't understand, and like trying to explain this to a casual fan, they don't care to understand. And I almost at this point, I'm like, I can't overstate, like, I can't just keep fucking saying the same shit. Like Tyron Woodley, yes, he can lay people out with his right hand, but it's MMA where he's a Division I All-American wrestler, and the threat of the takedown is always there. So you have to be so conscious of him not getting in on your legs that you have to lower your hands a little bit. And when he dips his shoulder and uncorks a huge overhand right and it hits you in the face, you're going to get knocked out because in the back of your mind, you are so fucking worried. Like Darren Till, significantly better striker than Tyron Woodley, was so worried about the takedown. He got clipped and dropped and then submitted. In boxing, you're only using your hands. So Jake Paul has to keep his hands up, and Woodley loses 80% of his arsenal. His whole game plan is those big right hands that everyone knows him for, and he's famous for all those knockouts because the threat of the takedown is so high. But explaining that to someone else is so hard. Like they're going to be like, oh my God, dude, Tyron Woodley was a UFC champion and Jake Paul beat him. It's like there's so many aspects where if Jake Paul went to MMA and he'd get his ass beat so bad, but people don't want to accept that. And just because he has such a big following, people listen to the majority, I guess. And it just drives me insane.
Dude, Jake Paul got his ass kicked by what's his name?
EJ Agazarm.
Yeah, and he sucks. That guy doesn't even fight anymore. Like, what do you think the worst fighter on the UFC roster would do to Jake Paul? He'd beat his fucking ass. He would put him. I don't care how Jake Paul can go in there at a middleweight. a 125-pounder will put him on his butt and make him fucking miserable. He'll have no idea what to do. Like, it's two different sports, man. One, you're protected. I wouldn't say protected, but kind of. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get kicked in the head. Like you said, Willie can't go in there and shoot a double leg. It's not fighting. It's a sport.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well put, Matt. It's not fighting. It's a sport. I'm glad we talked. I love listening to you guys rant. That was great. I asked one question. You guys talked for 5 minutes. It's great. All right, let's take the leeway into the pay-per-view last week. Nate Diaz. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the top 3 fights. Nate Diaz loses 24 minutes of that fight, and then clips Leon Edwards, and he does the chicken dance and almost finishes him in the last minute. So somehow Nate Diaz finds a way to stay more relevant than ever in a fight that he was losing 95% of. How you can't make this shit up, man.
Can't make it up. It's like best case scenario.
The truth is stranger than fiction in this sport. That's just the facts. What do you guys make of that fight?
Go ahead, Matt. I'm pulling.
Sorry, I muted myself. What's next for Leon? What's next for Nate? And what do you guys think about the entire fight itself?
All right, I'll start with Nate. Nate next I think he's going to get a very winnable fight. I think that fight did a lot of favors for him. I think he said all the right things in his post-fight. He wants to stay active. He wants to keep fighting. So I think he's going to get a winnable fight. I think that's pretty clear cut for him next. There's no step up. He's not getting a top 3 opponent. I think the Damian Maia fight actually makes perfect fucking sense, to be honest with you. Leon Edwards is interesting because for 4 rounds and 4 minutes, I was going to give him a title shot. I thought he was looking a little, I don't want to say gassed, but he definitely slowed down in the 4th a little bit. It's been a while for him, though. He barely fought 2 full rounds against Bilal. He didn't fight 2 full rounds against Bilal Muhammad. It's just been a long layoff, and he went 5 rounds. So, props to him. What I will say, though, that I didn't like, Nate Diaz should not make anybody chicken dance like that. Like, he was fucked up. Kind of like, what do you think Kamaru's going to do if you land that shot, dude? Like, you're going to end up in the first row. I still want to see that fight, and I'm giving him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because of everything I just mentioned. But if you told me a title shot wasn't next, I wouldn't be mad about it. I don't know, man. I personally would give him one more fight. I want one more 5-rounder, maybe do a title eliminator against Colby. And it's crazy because a month ago, I was singing the polar opposite. I was like, yo, give this guy his due. We saw Colby. I don't think anything else happens. But, make him and Colby fight now. Because if somebody's going to test your gas tank, make you go all 5, who else than Colby? If he passes that test with flying colors, it's obviously title shot time. But I'm calling for Colby next.
Dude, this picture is so fucking awesome. Like that.
It is.
Dude, Nate hit him. That's Nate's MO. Literally rocks him, wobbles him. Leon's backing up, wobbly as fuck, and Nate's just pointing at him. I'm like, bro, me and Matt were on my couch. I grabbed Matt's leg so hard. We both shot up off my couch. My dog started running around just like from the energy, feeding off the energy in the room. Only Nate Diaz was one of the Diaz brothers can do that. To go off what you said, Matt, I think Colby gets the title shot. I don't think they need to do a title eliminator because that just then what? Who the fuck fights Usman? That just Leon just fought 5 rounds. Is gonna have to, and Colby's not gonna say yes to that anyway.
Yeah.
I think Colby versus Usman's a fight to make, and this fight was clearly set up for Leon to go in, stop Nate Diaz, and establish himself as a star. Stops Nate Diaz, he gets the title shot, right? Because now you have Nate Diaz's star power. I think that now is the time to make the Masvidal fight. Leon Edwards versus Masvidal.
Yeah.
Masvidal will probably accept it because he wins. He stays super relevant, and he'll probably get a fucking title shot coming off that, especially if Colby was able to win. And then Leon, can then would definitely come in as a favorite over Masvidal, fights Masvidal, beats Masvidal, takes Masvidal's star power into a title shot versus whoever wins. And I think that's a win-win situation both ways. And then on Nate's case, I think that it's if McGregor loses and doesn't retire, he'll fight Nate Diaz at 170. And that would headline a pay-per-view. both of them coming off losses. Nate Diaz, McGregor will be coming off back-to-back losses, headlining a pay-per-view, and that would do extremely well. The trilogy is, I think, still gonna happen. They'll both say that they don't need it. If you ask Nate Diaz, he's like, I don't want to fight McGregor, and then same thing with McGregor, and then that they both want to fight each other. They respect the shit of each other. They're gonna fight. And the Diaz fucking mantra lives on. Like Nate always said, like the whole thing with the Masvidal fight, when the fight got stopped because Nate's cut. Nate Diaz was Masvidal's getting tired. Nate's just getting warmed up. The deeper the fights it gets, the better the Diaz brothers get. And that's what happened. Dana even said himself in the post-fight press conference, he goes, great, now Nate's going to ask me for a 6-round fight next. And he even said, this is like a one-off. He's like, this is Nate Diaz being Nate Diaz. You see, he's like, everyone, the crowd was going wild all week for Nate. He goes, there's countless fights that myself, I'm a huge fan of the sport, where you want to see it be a 5-round fight, right? There's plenty of fights that we've seen as co-main events that are like, oh my God, imagine this was 5 fucking rounds. And this fight actually was, and it was the co-main. But he says it's a one-off, and Nate's Nate, so he gets what he wants.
I also want to say, me and Chris talked about this the other night when we were watching the fights. Me and Chris said 3-4 times each. Like, how many times did Leon crack fucking Nate? How many times did Conor crack Nate, and how many times did he knock him down in the first 2 rounds? Like, how fucking crazy is that? Nate barely got rocked in that fight, and Conor put him on his butt in the same weight 3 times.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I mean, Leon is the definition of calculated decisionator. That's just how he fights. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, it's crazy how that last minute maybe determined whether or not he gets the title shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dana saw that. I was like, all right, he immediately called up the phone. He's like, Colby, you're next. Because I don't know. I mean, if he didn't get rocked, do you guys think Leon would have been next for the title shot?
I think if he finished him emphatically, yeah, I think Dana would just set it up, especially if it was early. He didn't go 5 rounds.
Yeah, Leon is his own worst enemy sometimes, man. Really.
Yeah.
I said it to Matt while we were watching. I'm like, dude, this is not at the end. I was halfway through the 4th round. I was like, if this goes to decision, Leon Edwards is not.
No, and I agree. And I've been the biggest Leon homer too, and I actually agree with you. I was expecting a finish.
It's so funny watching me and Matt, and I know all 3 of us disagree at times, right? But there's been so many times where I like someone so much, or Matt likes someone so much, where I want to root for the person. If I have no horse in the race, and Matt really wants someone to win, I'll just root for that person. Obviously I wanted Nate to win, but in the back of my head I was like, he's definitely going to fucking lose. And I know Matt really likes Leon, so I was just like, whatever. I just in my head, honestly, I was like, let it go decision. I don't want to see Nate Diaz get stopped, right? Let the Diaz chin hold on forever. You know what I mean? Just go out like that, lose a decision, fuck it, who cares? Been there a billion times before. But when he wobbled Leon at the end, I was literally jumping up and down, praying to God that he knocked Leon Edwards.
Yeah, you got really excited.
Fuck Matt, dude. Let's go. I was going wild, but yeah. And then Nate, obviously, people always say, the Diaz brothers are idiots and stuff. And it's funny how they're geniuses in their own way. Leon Edwards said after the fight, he was talking to Nate, and Nate said, don't let them tell you ain't shit, motherfucker. You ain't shit or something like that. And Leon was like, I feel that. You know what I mean? It's just they're the Diaz brothers just kill it. And again, I don't want to see it, but it looks like Nick Diaz is going to come back in 2021 and fight again. I'm just like, please.
Great.
Did
Hopefully
you see Matt warming up, by the way?
Yeah.
Nick warming up Nate, doing the exact shit Nate was doing, the weight, just being the Diaz brothers, dude. Fucking, they're hilarious, man.
They'll never, ever be replicated, those brothers. Ever. All right, guys, let's talk about co-main fight performance of the night. Brandon Moreno, first Mexican-born champion in the UFC. Wow, what a performance. I shot off my chair when he had Figueiredo's back. I'm like, it's over. I'm like, Brandon Moreno is going to choke him out in the 3rd round. And I was pissed because early in the night, I lost money on the fight doesn't go the distance with Nate and Leon. That was my biggest bet. And I was like, fuck, I lost all my money. So I put $150 on Moreno by finish. And I was just like, fuck it. I was pissed off. And that's exactly what I was jumping off my couch. I woke Reed up. Reed was sleeping. Lisa was sleeping because it was late. And I was the only one watching it by myself. And I jumped up and woke everybody up, man. What a fucking performance.
Reed fell asleep.
Yeah, he fell asleep like 6 times. He never makes it to the end.
He never does. He always falls asleep, dude.
Always. Yeah, what do you guys think about that performance, man? Brandon Moreno and new, man. I'm still ecstatic.
Dude,
I'm still on
I was so fucking pumped too. Chris was too. We were all fucking pumped because we I feel like we all wanted him in the first fight, right? And it was so close. He had him rocked, and that was just a wire to wire fight too. He won every second of that fight. He was never in trouble. I'm not going to make any excuses for Figueiredo, especially because I wasn't even rooting for him. He wasn't. Something was off. He had zero output. He looked like he just didn't even give a fuck to be there, in my opinion. Like, I don't want to knock Moreno's performance at all. Like, he's the champ. He's got to show up. You got to show up too and just give it your all, and what happens, happens. But he's the guy with the belt, and he didn't give a fuck. I don't think he cared at all. But props to Moreno. He won every second of that fight, like I just said. The finish was sick, and I love that we have a new Mexican-born champion now. Like, that's awesome. You're getting another country on the map. It spreads awareness for the UFC. I remember when I was in Mexico, they were all hyped up about Alexa Grasso fighting the night I was there, one of the nights I was there. And, like, now they have this guy, too, which is building the brand. It's so good for the sport. We don't need another fucking Brazilian champion anyway. Sorry. And, yeah, man, I'm hyped. I hope he beats the shit out of Cejudo next.
We'll see about that. That would be
Chris, you sound a little quiet.
That would be better.
Yeah, you're better.
That would be a sweet fucking matchup. They were able to pull that through. But yeah, maybe it had something to do with Figueiredo's weight cut. I'm not sure. He said he'd be interested at 135, basically going forward. And Dana said the post-fight presser, almost essentially what you just said, Matt. Like, he wasn't trying to take away from Moreno. Obviously, how the fuck is he supposed to take away from Moreno? Moreno's one of his champions now. But the first round, I don't give a fuck if on Figueiredo's best day, Moreno was coming forward, throwing combos, big uppercuts. I was like, holy shit, dude. He's the man. And I spoke to our buddy Kale on the phone yesterday, and I was like, dude, I remember recording one of the first podcasts in my bedroom, in my apartment, with us three sitting at the long table, and Mike was going off about Brandon Moreno, talking about before he fought Askar Askarov, just like hyping him up. So that's why I went like this when we first started talking about Moreno, because I always joke around. I always say, oh, so-and-so is their favorite fighter, this favorite fighter. You've been hyping Brandon Moreno up since Brandon Moreno got back into the UFC, and he's champ now. How's it feel, Mike?
It feels crazy, man. It doesn't. Here I am. He doesn't know who the fuck I am. But that's why we're such big fans of the sport. That's why we love this sport, man. We want to see people succeed. And as soon as Figueiredo pushed him at the press conference, I was like, what is this about? Like, there was no animosity before this. I feel like 100% his weight cut had a huge factor in it. But, man, I don't want to see a rematch. And I just want to see Figueiredo go up to 135, man. He cuts too much weight. That's how it is, man. He's 33. He's not young either. He's got to go up. And I think he'll have a lot of success at 135, man. But now it's Brandon Moreno's time. It's time for him to get paid. Let's bring Cejudo back. I don't think he can make 125 anymore, though. What do you guys think? I think
he looks fat in retirement. He's eating good.
Yeah, he's eating well. But no, impressive. Absolutely impressive. Thoughts on this before we go on to Israel Adesanya?
I'm good. Got everything out there.
Figgy versus Cody, 135.
No.
Adesanya dominates. I think we all said it, right? We were all on Adesanya going into this bout. Domination, from pillar to post. I don't know if there were some people out there that were scoring it for Vittori. I don't know what the fuck like you were watching. You were either drunk or on drugs. But
I don't know. I hear it too.
What happened?
Just a
You're good.
Weird noise. Sounds like something scratching.
Hope that's not me. I don't hear anything. But yeah, pillar to post, 50-45. What do you guys think about this performance? It was dominant. It was clear championship shit right there.
Has anyone checked on NJ Betting Guru in the last 48 hours?
No, he just did not know what was going on. I think he was drinking. He was out somewhere, and he had a lot of money riding on Vittori. So he's just
dude. I gotta give him props, man. When he's adamant, he's adamant. He just looks at control time though and thinks that is the end all be all for every fight. But fucking, I mean, I wanted him to finish Vettori. I don't know how Vettori thought he won that fight, but this was another one of those just ultra conservative Izzy performances. Like, I'm not going to say it was the OL type of conservative, but I didn't see much urgency out of him. Maybe it had to do with the fact that he knew Vettori wanted to take him down, and he didn't want to spend a lot of the time getting up and fighting off the cage. And I don't know. I think he just wanted to pick his spots, land what he could, landed a shit ton of leg kicks, obviously, and just be a sniper. And none of the shots he landed put Vettori down. And he knew that regardless, he would cruise to a decision. Saw nothing out of Vettori that makes me think they ever need to fight again. If anything, everything I saw just showed me he was not ready for this fight at all. I think he was a mental head case in there. Like, he was shook. I don't think he was mentally right for this fight. It looked like he was fighting to not lose. He wanted the control time. He wanted Adesanya on his back, and that's what he looks to get every fight. But even when he gets to those positions, he's not looking to advance. He's not really looking to do much. So props to Adesanya. I guess Whitaker's next. Don't really have much interest in seeing it. Vettori, get back to fight and show me more, because, my opinion about you has not changed in the slightest.
Yeah, shout out to NJ Betting Guru, friend of the podcast. He's hilarious. His stories are always worth a watch. He's entertaining as fuck. But scoring that 5-0 for Vettori is actually fucking insane. Like, again, he was out, he was boozing, so I'll give him props. But then the next day, he was still on that. But hey, I'm not gonna hold it against him. He's winning a lot more money than I fucking am, so he's clearly doing something right. But yeah, that was Adesanya's fight. He was cruising. Also, sometimes when I watch fights without the audio, without commentary, it could change your mind. But I mean, it was pretty fucking clear cut. Vettori's leg was definitely compromised. Again, I guess I'm just an Izzy hater. I don't want to keep saying, oh, but this guy's gonna beat him. This guy's gonna beat him. I was fairly confident that he was gonna beat Vettori, but I honestly thought he was going to put him away. Like, Vettori is super hittable. When he's not able to get the takedown on the feet, he should have got butchered. I said to Matt, Izzy was going to the well many times, that like right uppercut hook. I don't really know what the fuck that was, but he's going to the well with that a lot. And I think maybe that's something that Eugene and his coaches saw, in Vettori's game, that was going to land a lot, and it did. I just think, I think Izzy's cringe. My opinion clearly is not. I'm in the minority here. I think his personality is like, when he said that thing about Whitaker, though, I'm a motherfucking king, bitch. I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. The way he said that, I was like, that was swag. Like, that was, that was sweet. I watched that video, like the highlight of it on ESPN MMA, like 30 times. Like the way he said it was fucking sick, and just like mic drop moment. I was like, that's sweet. But I guess the one thing holding him back could just be like finishes. Like Matt said, just seemed a little conservative. Like, I love it, and people love you got a big thing, but like, Polo Costa, like, that was so sick. Just go back, if you could just replicate that, or the Derek Brunson thing. I'm not saying every fight's gonna be a finish, but after watching Nate Diaz do what Nate Diaz did, and Moreno go out there and fucking choke out Figueiredo, I didn't want to watch him kick Marvin Vettori's legs for 5 rounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, put a fucking stamp on it. Izzy, get a finish, and that mic drop moment would be that much fucking bigger. And I still want to see those pay-per-view numbers. I'm curious.
Me too, Chris. I'm an Izzy hater. But somehow, after watching that fight, I like him a lot more now, because Vettori, was 17-1 in his last 18 rounds, like, won 17 rounds out of his last 18. And then he comes up, people were like, oh, Vettori's got a chance with the wrestling. Oh, this and that. And then Izzy did exactly what he needed to do to be like, hey, I'm champ. You're not even close to my level. Next, because even though he didn't get the finish, that's what everyone's craving for. I actually think that, if anything, I still think his stock went a lot higher, especially with that mic drop moment. So good for him. Vettori, that was an asshole game plan. I don't know what the fuck you were thinking. Even your corner, wasn't his corner telling him that he's losing
every round?
Rafael Cordero was like, you lost that round. You lost that round. And Vettori was arguing with him. The commentators were like, I think Vettori's, they literally said delusional at this point. Like,
yeah, what the fuck? I think, if anything, Vettori's stock went.
It's like, you lost that round. and you're like arguing with them in the corner, just you lost the fucking round. Next round, worry about that. Don't worry about you're not a fucking. I don't know. That was I think like you said, Matt. I think their stock went like this. Izzy's went even higher, and Vittoria's just dropped.
Yeah.
And Izzy knew he was getting to him in the press conference. He was like, "Dude, you're just showing your beer muscles right now. Like, what are you doing? Calm down." And he's like yelling on, acting like the Hulk and shit.
I saw a
dude. You don't knock out. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, Matt. I saw a video online. It said anytime Marvin Torres asked a question that actually requires thought, and it's just a video of a guy screaming at the top of his lungs.
Yeah.
He's a meathead. All right, guys. What do you think? Transition? All right, guys. We got UFC Vegas 29. I know we have PFL tomorrow, but it's really not worth talking about other than the fact that Roy McDonald's going to win against Gleison Tebow at -1,000. And all the other fighters on the matchup are the exact same fighters who fought a month and a half ago or so, just different matched up against different people trying to get those points to the playoffs. So I don't really think there's
what's it called? Real quick on the rest of the UFC card, just a couple of quick notes I had. Hold on 1 second here. That Drew Dober fight, Brad Riddell fight was sick. Dober won though. Darren Stewart, he should have won. Darren Stewart, you and Chase Hooper could go find the door to Bellator together, and Lauren Murphy's gonna have a title shot, and Evil Lev is really fucking good.
Yeah, Evil Lev is really fucking good.
And that's it,
dude. Matt, so I want to hear your formal on-podcast apology about Darren Stewart.
Yeah, he sucks. He's a fucking retard.
He sucks.
The fact that he even won that second round to give me the first round to give me hope was so pathetic.
Yeah, Anders played it as safe as you possibly can because he already beat him once. He knew in his mind, he's like, I cannot lose this fight. So he took the safe route, which, whatever he needs to do to get that W. But, I kind of was hoping for a repeat performance there. All right, guys, let's go. UFC Vegas 29. Nothing crazy on this card, honestly. If anything, the card is one of the weaker ones I've seen in a long time. But Marlon Vera, we all love him on this podcast, going up against Davey Grant, rematch here. I love Marlon Vera. I hope he starches Davey Poopy.
Yeah, somebody needs to figure out this Davey Grant puzzle that nobody can figure out. He just throws the same overhand in every fight, and people go limp. It's the craziest thing. The guy said, bro, it's the craziest thing ever. Like, he's not even known for his power. He's a grappler. Like, what the fuck? But anyway, Marlon Vera should win that fight. He will win that fight. This Davey Grant run, along with the Tybura run, all these stupid runs got to come to an end. Let's get the real fighters back winning fights and keep this train rolling. But it's going to be a dope fight, but I'm definitely pulling for Marlon Vera. I think he's just better everywhere, except maybe just pure wrestling, but I don't think the fight's going to have to go there.
How is that not the co-main event?
I don't know how the fuck Alexei fucking Olenek is still fighting, and then Sergey Spivak, the ugliest fighter on the fucking roster, is on the co-main. Like, Dana, what are you doing?
I mean, Rick Glenn at the bottom of the card says hello to that comment, and so does Matthew Smellsberger. So,
and Mike's favorite.
I like Semmelsberger. I hope he knocks Chaos Poopy Williams out.
Yeah.
Fuck that loser.
This card is just like Diego Lima, Matt Brown, Rick Glenn, Joaquim Silva. Like, what year are we in? Holy shit.
A lot of these fighters haven't fought since like 2018, 2019.
Yeah, Rick, I had to look up the last time. Is Danny Roberts fighting Tim Means on this card?
That fight got scrapped.
Yeah,
thank God. Good. Julian Rose is back to lose me more money. And Bruno Silva and Wellington Turman. And the other two guys I'm never on the fights.
I know, yeah. I was big on Wellington Turman. I lost a lot of money against him when he fought.
You love Turman.
I think he's better than he put on a show. He's a grappler, and he went toe-for-toe with Sanchez. What are you, an idiot?
Yeah.
That fight lost me, dude. I had a juicy 5-fight parlay on that card, and that I was like, you fucking asshole.
Matt, you betting? You betting yet?
No, I'm not doing it.
Not yet. Good for you.
Yeah. If any of our listeners have remote jobs available, by the way, I'm freshly back on the market. So hit our DMs.
I'm gonna send this podcast right to your parents and let them know you don't have a
Oh,
job.
good.
Dude, Mike, I'm sitting with Matt, and I forget which fight it was on 263. And Matt hasn't been betting, right? So I'm trying to look back at the card to see if I can remember which one it was. And on the
Oh, they had the odds flipped.
They had the odds flipped, and I've seen them do that before. But someone said something. It wasn't Addict. Someone mentioned basically like the so and so being the pair, and then they were listed. And I was like, "Yo, are those really the odds?" And Matt was like,
"Dude, it was the Paul Craig fight, Chris."
Oh, dude,
It ended up horribly.
Dude, yeah, they had Hill as like a plus 250 favorite, and someone said something about him being Hill as a 250 underdog and him being an underdog. And Matt was literally like, dude, I will put the house on him. Could you imagine if that happened and you laid the house on him and he got fucking his arm snapped like that? Also, it's not broken. Did you guys know that?
Yeah,
dislocated,
hard. We just popped it back in. Right.
Yeah. And did you see them get drunk at the bar and party together?
Did
That
they?
was awesome, dude. They were dancing together and shit.
Awesome. Love it. Love to see it.
I got to look that up. Who posted it?
It's just type it in, it'll come up. It's all over the place. They're literally like drunk dancing in a bar together.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
it's good because they were talking a lot of shit to each other prior to the fight.
Yeah.
I know I said this before the podcast, but only Paul Craig can pull guard in 2021 and still win fights in the UFC. It just baffles me.
Main event.
Main event, Chang Sung Jung, Korean Zombie, coming off a 50-45 loss to Ortega, coming up against Dan Ige. It's a pick'em, guys, minus 110 apiece. And I think I texted you guys, if Zombie didn't lose to Ortega, I think he'd be a massive favorite here. I think this is really.
I don't even think they're making the fight.
Yeah, no, you're right, absolutely right. So I think Korean Zombie's going to win this fight handily, you know?
Yeah, I do too. And this is one of the fights where like I'm gonna have temptation to bet it. And he looked so good in his last two fights before this. He looked great against Yair until Yair decided to ruin my whole night as well as fucking his own because I lost all of my money again. But yeah, man, he take away that loss. He's on a pretty decent run. I favored him against Ortega, and now I'm begging Ortega to beat Volkanovski, which is another conversation. But I think he's better than Ige everywhere. I've never thought much of Ige. That's not to say he's not good. I did favor him against Gavin Tucker, but I didn't think Tucker was that good. He really is what he is. He can wrestle his ass off. He has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, which Loki kind of slept on because all of his fights turn into absolute fucking barn burners, which is awesome. I think that's what this fight is going to be. And I actually don't think it's in Korean Zombie's best interest to do that for 5 rounds. I think if he mixes it up and gives him different looks, it will benefit him in the long run in the fight. But I definitely favor Korean Zombie here. I don't know really what else to say about this one, man. It's just it is razor close. I think it's as close as the odds say. I'm not putting stock in that. I am putting stock, in the Ortega loss because of how convincing the loss was. He didn't win a fucking round. So maybe we were a little bit over the hill here with our expectations for Korean Zombie. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I don't need to reiterate what you just said. I'm with you. I'm definitely rooting for Korean Zombie. Not that I just like I don't not like Danny Gay, but I just don't. I'm just like, kind of whatever. I love Korean Zombie, so I obviously want Korean Zombie to win here. Looking at Ige's record, right? So he beat Gavin Tucker, who I don't think is good at all. Calvin Kattar whooped his ass. He beat Barbosa in a fight that I thought he lost. Mirsad Bektik, he went to a split decision, and Bektik is dog shit. Sorry, Bektik. Sorry, Mike Dolce. Kevin Aguilar. Danny Henry. Jordan Griffin, who we love, but is no longer in the UFC. And Mike Santiago. It's like, all right, come on. I get it. He's looking good. He trains with really good guys, which is pretty cool. I saw him and Habib going back and forth. This is probably a year ago or maybe more. And it was before one of Habib's fights, maybe even 2 years ago. he's rolling with Ige, or I think it was actually before that Kato. Doesn't matter. And he was like, well, I want to keep a record of my grappling against Habib and see how I go. And they show Habib submit him, and it was I think it was on Anatomy of a Fighter actually. And he goes, "How are you doing?" He goes, "I'm 0-2 against Habib so far." You know what I mean? And then Habib later on goes, tell them. And he's like, 0 for 10 so far. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's just funny. Matt said how good Ige is at wrestling. Meanwhile, Habib just, doing Habib things to him in the training room. But yeah, Korean Zombies, he's just one of those guys. He's super good everywhere, super exciting, walks through big shots, unless your name is fucking Yair Rodriguez, but he walks through big shots and he's good everywhere. He's good on the ground. He's got good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling, good takedown defense. So I agree with both of you. I think the line is perfect where it is because I am also putting stock into the Ortega loss. But if that never happened, I think he would be a massive favorite.
Massive favorite. I think you just rattled off all of Ige's wins and losses in the past however many years. And as like unimpressive as it is, I still think he overachieved. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought he lost the Edson fight. I thought he lost the Mirsad Bektic fight. And the reason why I liked him so much in the past because he's a constant underdog that fights his way to a win. And now here we are. He's fighting the upper elite at 145, and he's a pick'em with Korean Zombie, a guy who, knocked out Frankie Edgar in the first round, knocked out Moicano in the first round, who, went a 5-round war with Yair, who he would have won, in my opinion, if he didn't get clipped in the last 5 seconds. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing here. Maybe I'm going to lose $100 on Korean Zombie because I already put $100 on.
Maybe they get Zombie stock back up.
I just think he's way better than Ige. His stand-up is super sharp. His grappling is no joke. And Dan Ige is just not athletic. He's just a very hard worker that got on the right side of a couple close decisions. And
with some slick boxing and has some decent power.
Yeah, definitely has power. But even his boxing, I don't even think it's good. But I think Korean Zombies is way better.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Either I'm $100 or it's gonna be the easiest $100 I ever make. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe they'll live up to Dan Ige's nickname, 50K in this fight. It's got it written all over it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Props to him for always bringing the fight too, man. He's definitely exciting. All right, guys. Any thoughts on the end of the show here? Any topics you want to dive into?
I'm all good.
I think I said it earlier, but Dana White said that the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight really did 1 million pay-per-view buys. I don't know if I said that before.
He gave him props in his post fight, right?
Yeah, dude. So props to those guys for doing that. And it's so funny because he goes, Logan did that. Jake didn't do that.
Yeah. Like everybody else, he definitely hates Logan. I mean, definitely hates Jake and doesn't mind Logan.
Yeah. And he's boys with Floyd, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too much else. I got nothing. Till next week. I'm still waiting. We're still gonna have that fighter pay conversation, but I'm waiting for and I just want to see the if Nate Diaz is getting pay-per-view money. Because you see Masvidal came out and said he might not fight till next year because he's still waiting for a check he's owed from pay-per-view buys or some shit like that. But people are saying all types of wacky shit, like Paulo Costa saying he wants more money because Jake Paul. What Dana said is hilarious. He got asked a question about Paulo Costa saying he's not fighting because he's not making what Jake Paul's making, and Dana White goes, "Did you see your last fight?"
Love Dana.
Yeah, so he looks like he's gonna sit out for a while. Dude, I was like, it was awesome.
Talk about somebody who fell off hard. Paulo Costa is irrelevant as popular right now.
It seems like you fight Izzy and your stock plummets.
Yep.
Unless you're Jan Blachowicz.
Unless you're Jan, baby. Jan.
Being Matt's favorite fighter in September. Yeah. But I got nothing else for you guys.
All right. That's
Episode
it.
70 in the books. Like, comment, subscribe. Help the boys out.
Like, comment, subscribe. See you next week.